And we're live.
Wow.
Welcome to the Guitar Gear Locker. Sorry, Adam. Welcome to the Guitar Gear Locker. I'm Roger Sutherland. This is my co-host Alex Books from Emulation and Adam Reiver from FU-Tone. We've talked
Hello.
about you a lot, sir. I sometimes I kind of joke and say that our podcast is almost a FU-Tone commercial.
Oh, that's
Because,
good.
yeah, every week. I mean, we like your product.
Thank you.
Obviously, I'm a dealer. I'm a
Yes.
dealer because I love your product. And we've been waiting until we kind of got our rhythm going with the podcast to have you on, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight.
Thank you. I love it. I love doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll start by, before we get into the guitar stuff, you're both Philly guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Original, yeah.
Alex is originally from Philly, so
Yeah.
I'm the transplant to Virginia from Maryland, and I'm with the Philly guys tonight. So
We'll take it
we-
easy on
yeah, exactly. Well, none of us can pick on each other for our driving, that's for sure, right? All right, so I wanted to jump in. Like I said, we talk about your products a lot. We talk about your company a lot. Can't say enough good things about you.
Thank you.
We're live, so if anybody has any comments, feel free to kick them in. We'll kind of work those in as we can to keep the flow going. But mostly our channel is all about keeping new players and even existing players inspired to play. Last week we had a whole segment on songwriting and local bands meeting up with touring bands, and it's all about inspiration. And I think this runs right down that alley. And your company, I mean, you're big in an entertainment business. You work with some big names like, and I know you're a humble guy, so just bear with me. Eddie Van Halen, Warren DeMartini, Phil Collen / Nancy Wilson, and it's a gigantic list. I could go on and on, but you've worked with the big names in the industry, and that's a credit to you and your products and
Thank
the
you.
things that you've done. I'm kind of interested in, and I've been dealing with you for a few years, and I know a little of the history. I didn't know you started. I knew you started playing at 14, but I didn't know that's where everything kind of began, right?
Yeah, totally. Totally. I think I was late to the game,
Okay.
compared to, a lot of guitar guys that I know or work with or meet.
Right.
14 just seems like late. So
Right.
like when I first started playing, and you get in your first couple of high school bands, and
Right.
you're jamming with some friends after school. I was like the rookie. It was like I couldn't keep up. Because
Right.
these guys had all been playing for a while. They got a few years under their belt. And they got their gear game down. They got the cool
Right.
guitars. They can play.
Right.
And like, help me. But it was for me, the guitar was like love at first sight. And you touched on it perfectly with the word inspiration.
Right.
I still get off on being inspired by music, by gear, by tone, by anything cool or new. When I talk to someone who's inspired, like I had a guy in my office today, and I did some upgrades on his guitar, and he was like that jazzed, hyped, like, oh my God, this is so great. And I feed off that. I'm like, oh no, let me show you this. And it goes, of course, I've had that conversation with, young kids, guys, discovering tone, and some of the biggest pros in the world. And every one of those conversations is exactly the same.
Yeah.
When you get one of those big pros and be like, dude, let me show you this. I'm like, oh, let me see that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It never changes. And I think that like the real players, the real connoisseurs, the real inspired guys are still that jazzed. When I see that, it makes me get up. But yeah, I was young to the game, and because I was inspired and curious, and I fell in love with the guitar and not just playing everything about it. You know, I liked reading about it. I liked working on it and taking my guitar apart and putting it back together or changing a part. You know, that was, to me, I'm sitting here looking at a guitar. I love the shape of a guitar, the lines of a guitar. To me, it's art. It's a and this doesn't get old for me. I've been doing this, you know, I've had that same feeling since I'm 14 that I have now. It hasn't changed at all.
Right. You know, and I can relate to what you said early on with the gentleman that came in your shop today. You know, it is such a fulfilling feeling when somebody comes in, you know, they drop off their guitar and then they pick it up and it's the same guitar, but you made upgrades to it, you've polished it, you've done whatever, you made it more playable for them. And it is like a brand new experience for them with the same thing that they dropped off. It is such a rewarding feeling. I get that every time somebody picks up a guitar.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to the inspiration, though. You know, It's that you're connected to it, and it's not just that. Like if you get a new amp or a new pedal or a new whatever. And when you plug that, for me, like a good example is like I'll be trying a new pedal out, and you'll hear something you haven't heard before. To me, that pushes me to play, you know, out of my comfort zone. You know, well, that sound kind of leads me here, but I normally wouldn't do that. It's inspiring. It's fun. It never gets old.
That's a good way of putting it.
In fact, I recently had a couple guitars stored in Europe that, you know, we keep over there for touring over there. And I had these guitars maybe about 6 years. They were sitting over there. So I finally got them back recently when I was over there. And so when I got home, I had, you know, the FU-Tone brass block installed. You know, Roger put it in. And I tell you, it's like night and day, you know, and it's been uncontrollable for me. It's like a brand new instrument, you know. So I can relate, you know, I can relate to being inspired, you know, especially, you know, like you were saying about, you know, all these touring guys. And when I'm on tour, it's like I'm always finding either one of the other bands that I'm on tour with that is a nerd like me, or one of the guitar techs, you know, that we just hit it off. And the rest of my band, like, oh boy, here they go. He found a friend, you know. And
it's a brotherhood, you know, like when you bump into that other guitar guy wherever you are, you know, that's it. You could just sit there and chat for hours.
Definitely.
What I'm curious about is, you know, where did you come up with the idea of, you know, a brass block? You know, like, how did that come about? You know,
it was just like D-Tuna, sort of like finding a weak component, and it was like, well, what if this were bigger? What if this were made of a more resonant material? What would happen? Well, it would probably just vibrate more, and I guess that would be good. So let's try that. And then we just kept going, you know, and then let's try different materials and different shapes and sizes and find the weak links and go from there. But the block is the engine of the guitar. I mean, for me, you know, that's where you're going to get the most return on changing that part. And that response that you're talking about and what you hear, you're not hearing the block. All I'm doing is taking the vibration of the string, amplifying it, and sending it back out into the guitar. And you're hearing more of what you already paid for. You're more of the guitar, you know. Instead of your guitar sounding like this, your guitar sounds like this. And it's just your guitar, just bigger, clearer, and more resonant.
Do you think some of it is just adding more mass? Because it seems, and I heard somebody else say this, and I say this to customers, you know, when they're asking me, like, how would you describe it? And I always say, for lack of better terms, it feels like it adds more balls to the guitar, like more oomph, and it probably has a lot to do with the mass that you're adding to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, a good telltale too, and especially for guys with good ears. And even I had it today, but after I'm done installing before I even turn an amp on. You know, I'm finishing
Right.
stretching and tuning, and you smack a couple chords with the guitar unplugged.
Right.
And it's like, whoa, the guy goes, whoa, I could hear that. I could hear, I go, that's it. That's the secret sauce.
Right.
You know, that is the thing, you know, it's just the vibration, and I just amplify it and send it back out there.
Yeah. Now, did you started, and I wasn't aware of this. You started with the D-Tuna before blocks, right?
Yeah.
How old were, that wasn't when you were 14.
No, God, no. No, no.
Okay. Because I was sitting here, Alex and I told you we were chit-chatting a little bit. I said, I don't know if he started when he was 14, but I think when I was 14, I wasn't trying to solve a problem like that.
No, I was
in other things.
in my 20s. I was in my 20s.
So, well, I still have the same question, whether it's in your 20s or whatever age. So, you know, whenever you invent something, you're trying to solve a problem, right? So what was the problem? And, you know, obviously you wanted to play and drop D. But I mean, most guys, gals, whatever, would say, well, I'll just retune my guitar. So what makes you decide to invent something that does that?
It was me, and I had a partner who we each had a piece of a concept and put it together to make it work. But it's like, hey, if you play with a locking tremolo and you want to drop D, like, it's a pain in the ass, and there's got to be a better way. And then you start thinking about how the fine tuner on the bridge works, and that screw goes up and down. That string lock screw goes up and down under the fine tuner. Like, well, there's tuning there. Well, what if I did this with my thumb?
Right.
Okay, well, that does something. Well, how about if I put something in there, then made it adjustable, then and then that was it. Right from there, and we made a lot of prototypes, things that didn't work, you know, things that worked okay, and we just kept expanding on it until we got to the piece that you see today. Right.
And I think I'll be honest. The first guitar that I had was an EV8 Special, I think, and it had a D-Tuna, and this may have been before I even opened up my business, and I hated it because the secret is, and your video is very good, by the way. I'm not just saying that. It's very informative, and everybody should watch that video because the secret is to dial those things in. Once they're dialed in, they're very, very good. But if they're not, they're very frustrating.
Well, it is frustrating, and anything is frustrating when you don't have the information.
Right.
You know, I mean, I don't know how to change the oil on my car. And if I tried to, I would probably be out there for 3 days and my car would be taken apart. And I would be telling you how bad my car is and how it's defective and how it doesn't work. And it's your fault. And then, whereas I'm sure if the right person trained me or educated me, it's probably a 20-minute thing. And it's not a big deal. And I don't care if it's changing strings, setting up your D-Tuna, changing the block, intonating your guitar, any of these things that I didn't know as a kid. And out of frustration, you know, I would be, you know, I didn't understand a lot of things. And here's the other thing that I'm going to tag to that. A lot of companies, especially back in the day, especially back in the 80s, you know, and this new technology was coming out. They didn't educate you. First off, there was no YouTube. There was no nothing. You know, and if you were lucky enough to get a little crappy instruction booklet that you couldn't even understand. You had to figure this stuff out on your own. And like maybe your friend would figure something out and show you, and we would all share information. Oh, let me show you this. Let me show you that. And I always, and even to this day, I see these companies put out product. I'm not going to point my finger at anyone, but it's like, here's your new product. Good luck. You know, I made a point with those videos, and I'm remaking remakes of the videos now. My goal is to remake every video and put out videos I still haven't put out, to share the information, especially with a kid that's like new to the game. And I don't even care if it's a kid or a pro guitar tech, because I've had pro techs on the road with pro guys go, I never knew that spring trick with the screwdriver and the,
Right.
like,
Right.
and that's good. Let's
Right.
share the information,
Yeah.
educate each other, help each other, and make it fun. Because, like you said, when you were
Right.
frustrated with your
Yeah.
D-Tuna, you were probably like, this thing doesn't work. This is
Yeah.
garbage.
Right.
F this. I can't handle this.
Yeah.
No, someone just didn't take you by the hand and go, come
Right.
with me. Let me
Well,
help.
and that experience, my personal experience, has helped me as a dealer, because I had that same guy that I was years ago walk in here and say, "Yeah, I have a D-Tuna, but I don't use it." And I'm like, "Why not?" And then we sit down and we go through it, and they love it afterwards. I mean, the secret is getting those things dialed in, and they're
It's
very
training.
predictable and very stable.
It's a very simple unit to use and operate, and when you set it up
It
right,
is.
it's flawless and
It
it's
is.
easy to use. I was at
Yeah.
a dealer. I was at a dealer of mine a few weeks ago, and I don't have a lot of dealers, and I turned down a lot of dealers. I don't have a lot of dealers because I don't want a lot of dealers, because I don't want people to buy my product, hang it on a wall, and hope someone buys it. I don't
Right.
need that.
Right.
I need a dealer like you, like some of my other dealer friends, that can educate a customer, that can
Right.
educate the end user and go, let me help you, let me show
Right.
you.
Right.
And without the information, the product is worthless.
Right.
And and then all of a sudden it's the same experience. Here it is hanging on the wall. Oh, this guy bought it. This doesn't work. Well, oh, this is terrible. The product stinks. The dealer stinks. I'm aggravated. I'm not playing my guitar. But I was in there, and everyone's pretty good, but there's always things. And there was a young girl who worked on the sales floor, and I don't know how it came up, but D-Tuna came up.
Mhm.
And she said, yeah, I'm not real sure about that. I go, well, do you know what this does? And do you know how it works? And she didn't. And I said, if you're trying to represent this guitar, not just my guitar, but any guitar with it or as an accessory, they put it on, I
Right.
don't care if it's an ESP or
Sure.
Schecter or whatever it is. I said, let me show you. And I grabbed the guitar and a couple wrenches, and I sat down and plugged into an amp, and I showed it to her, and I explained it, and I did a setup, this and that. Then I handed her the guitar, and I said, explain it to me.
Right.
And she could. And
Yeah.
now I don't care who she talks to now, she's educated to share
Right.
the information with the end user, not just in an effort to sell the product, but
Right.
in an effort to give your customer, your client, a positive experience.
Sure. Sure.
And that's the whole thing. That's the
Right.
biggest. And that, I'll go a little deeper on this one. That is what big box stores can't do, online dealers can't do.
Right.
Oh, I can't be in business. Guitar Center is too big. This and that. To me, the dealers that not just survived but thrived
Right.
against the tidal wave of big box and online and this and that are the dealers that filled those holes.
Right.
Come here, let me help you, let me
Yep.
educate you. Look, all of a sudden, it's not about who's got the best price of my new
Right.
Fender Strat. Your consumer doesn't care who's got
Right.
the best price. Your
Right.
consumer, when you have a trusted resource, a trusted dealer, and I don't care if you're buying a guitar or a car,
Right.
if you have that dealer that takes care of you, knows everything there is to know, helps you through the sale, and is there for you after the fact.
Right.
Are you out shopping for the best price, or are you
Right.
going to your trusted resource?
Right. Right. I say work harder, work better, and you'll win every time.
Yeah.
And that's my philosophy. And you're right. The personalized service. If you sit down, I have my bench right behind me, and the customer, he's actually the customer that bought the FU Pro a couple weeks ago, and we sat here together and we went over the dialing into D-Tuna and getting that thing dialed in for him. And I think it's those extra steps that go a long way with customers and with players, right?
Yeah, and that guy knows you're his guy. He
Right.
knows he could call you next week and go, I didn't quite get this during the string change. What do I do here? What do I do? He knows he could call you
Right.
A, that he can, and B, that you know.
Right. Right.
You
Well,
think he's
and
looking for the
I have
best
to,
price?
yeah, I have to back that up with it. You all are very supportive, and I have to, Maria and I talk a lot. She's phenomenal, by the way.
Maria's the greatest, and I hope
She
she's
does.
tuning
I hope
into
she's watching so she sees this. She's awesome to deal with. You all are very supportive, and I, you know what, you kind of stay on the outside, and every once in a while I get a message from you. Hey, did you think of this? Hey, did you? It's usually with my crappy pictures, but I'm just trying to like do social media, But I'm also doing things like trying to search for different things. Like I have one customer that has 3 of the exact same EVHs. So we're looking for different sounds. So I think one time I got a message from you. You said, hey, did you want to put a 42 mil in that instead of I think we did a 32, but we were searching for a different sound since he had the exact. But you all are very supportive, and you're always in the wings, giving suggestions and kind of nudging the dealers along. And I like that.
Let me address both of those points. Speaking of Maria, and because everybody sees me on social media, I'm out with the artists or working at a gig or this or that, and it seems like glamorous and big, and it is. It's great. Don't get me wrong. Not jaded, appreciative. Maria is more than my right hand at FU. This whole thing doesn't move without Maria. It's the 1-2 punch. She's the ultimate support system. Like I'll be sending her texts, emails, this, that. I'll be like, what's this? Did you talk to this guy? She'll be back to me. Don't forget this. Da, 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 da. We're like passing the ball back and forth like Harlem Globetrotters. And people don't see her out there, but it's very important to this business and to this company. She's a superstar. Beyond superstar.
I couldn't agree more. And I deal a lot with Maria because I know you're a busy man, and I come out of a chain of command kind of organization, being in public safety, and I know I know the channels to deal with, and she is always. I tell you, I can text her after hours and she'll answer me.
Same.
And yeah, you're the same way. Your phone, it will be dinging all night. And I've seen it dinging in other interviews, and you've always answered every time I've texted you. So you all are very responsive, and you don't get
see
that.
If anyone calls us during this, that will be fun.
What's that?
We'll see if anyone calls while we're on. Could be fun.
Oh yeah, I figured your phone. And it just, for me, it brings back bad memories of being on call in the fire department with my phone dinging nonstop.
I love that, actually.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, because when you call the office, everything goes to my cell phone. Yeah. And I don't care if it's 9 o'clock on a Sunday night. If I'm awake and I see my phone, I answer it. Right. And I always get this. I'm like, hello, can I help you? Is my standard answer pickup. They're like, holy shit, you answered the phone. I'm like, well, yeah, you called, right? You expect someone to answer.
Yeah.
And then they'll say, well, I had a question about, what size block for this or that. And I'll start talking. And as you know, Alex, people will pick up this lovely Philadelphia accent, and they'll be like, is this Adam? Is this the guy in the video? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what? I'm like, I can't believe I'm talking to you. And then my stock line is like, I can't believe I'm talking to you. It's great.
Yeah.
Now let me ask, and you don't have to answer this. So your lovely wife, how does she like that? Because I know I answer a text at 11:30 at night, and my wife is nudging me like, all right, put it away.
I'm going to tell you exactly how my wife would answer that. I wish you could hear me. She's upstairs. I would tell her, but I'm going to tell you exactly how she answers that. Sometimes it'll go off and it'll be ringing, and I'll be doing something else and this and that. And I'll be like, I'll get back to that person. Yeah. And she looks at me, she'll glare at me. She goes, pick it up.
Really?
She tells me to pick it up. It's
nice.
She's the anti-wife. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
She defies gravity in aspects like that. And I'll give you one more example of her. There was this guitar I wanted this past year. It's a guitar I always wanted. And it was on the more expensive side that I normally wouldn't buy.
Right.
And I saw it and someone texted it to me, and she's sitting with me and I'm looking at it. She goes, "What is that?" I said, "Oh, it's this guitar. I always wanted it." I'm like, "Oh, it looks great. Have a nice day. Bye." She goes, "You should buy that."
Wow.
I said, "What?" She goes, "You should buy that." I said,
Nice.
"Okay." So yeah, she's incredible. And
Yeah.
she works in the industry. She's a
Yeah.
photographer.
Uh-huh.
So all the bands I work with, and she's worked with even before I knew her, she
Right.
shoots everybody. I'll give her a plug if you want to check out her
Absolutely.
website. And she sells prints of a lot of the artists and signed prints. Nadine Joy Photography.com. Nadine Joy Photography.com. Check it out. Check out the prints. Just really, really beautiful stuff.
They
And
look awesome.
thank you. They're all over my house. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
only thing I hang in the house is something
Right.
that she shot.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me, we have one, it's Pat Kelly, FU-Tone is on this Christmas list. Happy 10-year anniversary, Alex.
Oh, thank you.
Cool.
And on the Christmas list.
Oh, Adam, I'm actually curious if you
Sure.
could kind of explain a little bit the differences between, brass, titanium, and copper, and also part two to that question is something more suitable. Say you have a guitar that has like mahogany body with a maple top, or alder body or ash body. So yeah, if you can explain a little bit.
I can. And when I explain it, or when I put this in a video, and I just remade that video where I took the same guitar and it had the stock block in it, then I did brass, then I did copper, titanium, same guitar, same strings, same everything. And I just played clean, I played dirty on each one, and you hear the differences. And that's not enough information. That's enough information to get you thinking, because beauty is in the ear of the beholder for this. And if I were to put 3 blocks in your favorite guitar, you and I would probably have a different opinion of what should be there, because, where do you want to go? What do you want? That being said, I'll give you a rough guideline. One, watch the video of the comparison, and then remember where you want to go. And then it's just for that guitar, a different wood guitar would sound completely different. Brass, I always say, big, beefy, round, think George Lynch, Eddie Van Halen, that type of sound signature. Copper, similar, very similar, with more of a scooped midsection, a little more nu metal-y, very interesting sounding. Titanium, very glassy clear, crystal clear sound. Think Phil Collen of Def Leppard, think Michael Wilton of Queensrÿche, where you play the open G chord with distortion and chorus and delay and this and that, but yet you hear every single note of the chord, that clarity. That's the jump off. And I'm going to tie this back to your guy I didn't answer before, the guy with the 3 EVH guitars. You want them all to sound different? Brass, copper, titanium.
Oh, yeah.
Now you have 3 different tools for 3 different jobs. I always can compare it to colors, like while you're painting. You can't have, just 10 shades of purple. You need different colors to make different sounds. I don't like my guitars sounding the same. I like every guitar to be a little different. And then when I'm playing, I'll be like, "Ooh, maybe I'll try this."
And we were looking for a subtle difference between the 3, because he brought it in. They're all 3 EVH standards, Wolfgang standards, and he wanted to put a different pickup in it, but he didn't want to route the cavity. And it gets
You don't have to, because of, and I know why you're going to say it, because the ear of the pickups are square that he wants.
He wanted Fishmans in it.
Oh,
they wouldn't even come close. They weren't even in the neighborhood. So it was we're trying to figure out some way to get a subtle difference in them. And he
Different
plays with
pickups a good
great
way to
guys.
go, though. Different pickups. I would start at the block because the
Right.
block's the least evasive thing
Sure.
to do. It's the least expensive thing to do.
Right. Right.
And I think it's going to give you the biggest variety of swing to where
Right.
you're trying to go. So
Right.
I would start there. I would put titanium inserts, saddle inserts in all of
Right.
it because they mix really well with it.
Right.
And then from there, maybe experiment with pickups. And, you know, if he doesn't want to go through the Fishman route for that, there's a million options for pickups to put in that guitar. And there's so many great boutique pickup makers today.
Oh yeah.
Pedal makers. It is, I always say it's the revolution again, you know, try different things, never stop, you know, don't just be like, oh, I need a Fishman because I saw an ad or
right.
Think outside the box.
Yeah. And that I was pointing at that's where I wind pickups over there. I'm always looking for a different sound also.
Yeah. And we have the FU pickup, which is kind of unique. This year coming up in 25, I'm releasing a pickup in conjunction with, I can't say the name, with a partner that I work with, very big in the industry, who spent years and years and years designing a pickup. And it is so good. And I hear a lot of pickups, and I'm a big fan of boutique pickups. I like a lot of pickups. But this thing that we're going to put out is wild. It's really cool. Really cool. Just a very.
What is it modeled after?
Nothing. Yeah, it's a medium to high output pickup.
Okay.
But it has a very unique tonal characteristic to it.
Okay.
I don't like pickups to completely color the sound. I like to think of them as a delivery system that delivers it. I like a clear output, a clear, punchy sound.
Right.
So, you know, I want to hear the guitar. I want to hear the amp. I want to hear, just like the block, I want to amplify that wood. I want to hear what I got.
Right.
You know? And then I want to take that and deliver it to my amp with a really good pickup, something unique, something different.
Right.
Pickups are great. I'm a pickup nerd, and I've never gone as far to wind my own pickups. I designed a pickup which came out good, which is in the FU guitar. But I would love to learn to wind a proper pickup.
Yeah.
It's about the pickup. Now you're talking about a partnership with a pickup. Now I have a guitar that has a Evertune Bridge, and you know, I'm curious, have you ever thought about you know, working with them to make some FU-Tone parts? Because you know, the guitar that I have with Evertune, and it's funny, like you were to go backwards a little bit, you're talking about the D-Tuner and being educated, like the same thing. I got the Evertune, my tech at the time, he couldn't wrap his head around it. And finally, you know, once you figure out something, you're just like, wow, this is how it works. This is really an amazing tool. But have you ever considered maybe designing something for an Evertune Bridge?
Have I considered it? Yes. Did I sniff around it? Yes. Will I eventually get to it? Probably. It's definitely in a pipeline of the thought process. There's a bunch of things that I still want to come out with that I think are viable and, you know, valuable and fun for everybody. It's never ending. And as the company grows, you know, we're a small to medium sized company. You know, there's 3 or 4 of us any given day at the office, and that's it. You know, it's not like we're Fender or Duncan or, you know, these big conglomerate companies. So to me, my biggest drawback is the resource of time. You know, I only have so much time in a day to do things, and I burn it 7 days a week, and I have to travel a lot and this stuff, but I work. I don't care where we're traveling, where I am, you know, I'm up at 5 in the morning rifling off emails late at night, working on stuff, phone calls. I wish there were 3 of me, because it would come out. And yeah, Evertune, when I first saw Evertune, I think that was on a Korn gig, and one of the guys had gotten a guitar with an Evertune, and that was the first time I saw it.
Right.
What the hell is this? And they showed me, and I started messing with it, and I'm looking at the parts. And just like I look at any bridge, a locking trem, a Strat bridge, a Tele bridge, I go, where's the weak link? Where could this be better?
Right.
And, of course, I had a couple thoughts, and, not to redesign it by any stretch. I think it's a brilliant piece of machinery. Just in my warped head is like, how do you make it sound better?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that would be, and I don't know this, you would know better than me. That would almost take, because they're modularized, you would almost have to have a partnership, right?
Not necessarily. I don't know. I mean, I didn't go that deep with it.
Right.
It depends. And, I work with a lot of companies out there. I'm one of the few companies that looks at other companies not as competition, just as, like brothers out there. And like, I'll sit there and tell you, like, I'll see like a Kaler post, and I'll like thumbs up, respect for Kaler. Like, someone's like, isn't that your competition? I'm like, I have full respect for these guys.
I love it.
I love it. I mean, we're all in it together.
Yeah.
For the good guys. For the good guys.
You're exactly right. I think there's room for everybody in this space, but there are definitely some people I didn't realize when I got into it. It's kind of competitive.
Competitive,
like I come in and go like, look, I'm here. We're all a team.
Not everyone looks at it like that. And competitive is fine. Friendly competition is fine.
Sure.
But thievery is not cool.
Right.
And I'm not going to take a negative tract here or point fingers. I know I don't have to, and I won't. But that's not cool.
Right.
I respect so many people in this business and companies in this business and companies I compete with, especially since I started making guitars. And I'll sit and I could rattle off 20 guitar makers that I go, those guitars are great. Oh, you should check that guitar out, And again, people are like, are you competing with them? I'm like, no, that guy's cool and that guitar is great.
Yeah.
And I could just give you all of them. You could see, like, I'll post and go, check out Sully guitars or Moon guitars. This guy, that guy, Nags, and this one. They're all great, and they it's still part of this revolution of. I think we're in the second revolution of. Do you remember before the '80s, before like the shredders and all the cool guitars came out? Before that it was, I'll have one Fender Stratocaster, please, or one Les Paul. And other than that, and it was all the B brands, but it was either Strats or Les Pauls, plug it in, end of story, game over. That was 95% of the guitar world and the professional world. And then, come 1980-ish, when you get the Charvels and Jackson and ESP and Kramer and this one and that one, and these guys reinventing the wheel because of, you could lay credit right on step number 1, right at Eddie Van Halen, who said, well, I'll put this pickup from this guitar and this guitar, and then I'll cut a hole in it, and then I'll do this, and let's change this to that. Then all of a sudden the companies are like, well, yeah, maybe we should do that. You didn't see that before. So that's where it started. And I was a teenager then, so I graduated high school in 1985. So roll back to 1981, 81, right in that summer. When I was introduced to guitar. And then you're reading guitar magazines, and all of a sudden you start seeing, oh my God, there's George Lynch with this, and there's Warren DeMartini, and there's this and that. And everyone was playing different, and everyone had different gear. And to me, that was such a cultural revolution of gear and playing.
Right.
And then that ran the course of the 80s. Then here come the 90s, and they're like, well, where do you go from there? Like, well, we don't know how to go up. Let's go down. Let's go find Fender Jaguars and, practice it not being great.
Right.
Okay, that was just the way it was for a while. Then this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
Then along comes the internet. And all of a sudden, everybody has a voice. For the most part, it's pretty good. You get those guys that kind of pee in the pool and ruin it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But now everyone has a voice, and you'll get this guy winding pickups, and you'll get this guy making amps, and you'll get this guy making guitars. And now all of a sudden, because before you would have never heard of these guys, they didn't have any money. They couldn't afford to be in guitar world. They couldn't afford to support an artist. But now they can go on the internet and go, hey, look at me over here. I came up with this cool little thing, and here's what it does.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And the cream rises to the top.
Right.
And how many cool things came out of that? How many cool inventions, and how we shared information. Then all of a sudden it became cool again to be good again, to make good gear, to build a better mousetrap, I would say.
Right.
Build a better mousetrap. And I don't care what you're making. And it's cool and it's inspiring.
Yeah.
And it's really, really neat. Oh, I can't even. This one I can't answer live. But I will write on an interview. I wouldn't put him on the spot.
It would be fun though.
It would, if it was someone I thought that would be okay with it. I would.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. You know what? I think it's really interesting. I see a lot of guys that they were probably teenagers back then. You and I graduated the same year. So back then you graduate or you're playing guitar when you're a teenager, and then now at our ages you can afford these things. So I see these guys coming in now like, I want a treble bleed, I want a blower switch, I want you to wind a pickup like the Brown sound that Eddie was trying to wind. It runs the gamut, but it's fun. It's fun, especially when somebody else is paying for it.
It never ends, and it doesn't have to be an expensive proposition.
No,
to be cool. I love the weird. I like the oddities. I like the things people turn their nose up at originally.
Yeah.
I have that mentality when it comes to gear and guitars. I like freaks.
Yeah.
The freaky stuff. And I love turning dudes onto it. And like, hey, what is that? I'm like, oh, let me show you.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I always tell them when they want to go in a rabbit hole, I'll go head first every time. I'm like, I'm the guy that'll go in the rabbit hole with you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Alex, I interrupted you.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, like, you came on my radar, I guess, about 2009, maybe 2010. And it was a friend of mine, Steve, who owns CMC Guitars. And, so Steve was, Stephen Quaid. And, he was just like, oh, you got to check out this FU-Tone stuff and this and that. And it wasn't until a couple years later that I actually went out and got, some of your stuff I ordered. And I was just like, why did I wait so long?
Steve's a great guy. Steve has great gear. He's one of those guys in the network, I call it, of good guys.
Oh yeah,
he's a guy, a good guy. He gets cool stuff. So you can plug him. CMC Guitars.
Yeah. But I always chased the tone all my life since the 80s, and so coming along, coming across your product and finally using it, it's just like, wow, this is what I've been looking for. It's always that thing that, it's just like, if it just had this little, the guitar had this little something that would just take it a little bit extra, over the cliff that I needed. And now, that I've finally used the product and been put. Eventually, I'm going to get around to all my guitars and put all the blocks in.
Well, we have when I don't know if he knows about it, but we have your ESP that is getting.
Yeah. So I have my old late '80s ESP Strats. The guitar has been through the mill, so I'm in the process of rebuilding it with Roger, and so it's going to be all FU-Tone upgrades on the guitar.
Cool.
And so we're going to do a video actually of that process of doing that.
Yeah, we're going to do a video and have it on this podcast of Alex actually doing the work. Alex is going to do the work on it.
Yeah,
he didn't tell you that.
Do an AB, like record the guitar before you take it to surgery.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And record it afterwards.
Yeah. He didn't tell you earlier on when he said he came over here. We live 10 miles apart, if that. He's down here in Virginia now. He came over, we put a block on. I made him put the block on, and it is, it's a pretty simple upgrade for people. And I think you made that point in several videos. It's a pretty simple process.
It's very simple. If you have the ability to change your own strings on a locking tremolo, you can do this. And if you're intimidated, obviously they could go to someone like you, or they could send it to me. I've plenty of people that just don't even want to do it. They just send it in, we send it back out. But I tell guys, I'm like, take a shot, turn on my video, watch it once, and then put it on again and just pause it at each step. And if you get in trouble, call me.
Right.
Call me and I'll jump on the video with you and I'll walk you through it. I can't tell you how many video service calls I've done, and especially for D-Tuna. Especially for D-Tuna. And it always follows this progression. I get the email, hey, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. It's defective. It's this, it's that. And I have my standard reply. I'm like, is your bridge blocked? Is it non-floating? Did you do this? Did you do a couple of things? And then they'll come back. Usually after the first one or two emails, they're like, oh my God, yes, you were right. And that's it. Right. And if I go like 2 or 3 emails and they don't get there, I go, let's schedule a video call. What's good for you? And we'll get on the video. And I take a guitar. I go, have your guitar, your tuner, and your wrenches ready. Right. I take a guitar and I go, all right, do this. Right. And then I can tell you, after over 30 years of video, not just video, of any kind of D-Tuna service call, everybody 100% has been cured, but has the same answer of like, oh my God, like, duh. They're like, why didn't I figure this out? And I'm like, because
I think, imagine this. I was the anomaly that one time I had to reach out to you, and I could not get this D-Tuna to work to save my life, and finally reached out after I tried everything. And before,
did we do a video call?
No. I figured it out before, and I was kind of, I wasn't embarrassed because I do have anomalies in my life all the time. It seems I'm that guy, but it was the hinge on the saddle was frozen, so the saddle acted like one piece instead of hinging, and it was from the sweat. People don't realize how acidic their sweat is, and it rusted that and kind of fused it together. And so
when you're in the E position and you pull the D-Tune out, the string lock screw didn't come up. It stayed
exactly. Yeah. So luckily I had figured it out, but I was the anomaly on that one, and I had tried everything. But this is, I bring it up because somebody will watch this and be like, that's what happened with that.
Always something, and it's always something quirky. It's always, if it's not the basics, like you were floating, or you had an inch string, or you weren't pulling it out all the way or pushing it right. If it's not the basics, it's a weird anomaly, like your saddle was frozen.
Exactly. So the FU Pro guitars. So I had a customer in here that had just recently bought a USA Charvel, and it was a beautiful guitar. Fully FU-toned it. And then he came in and he played that FU Pro that I had on display out here that just sold. And he said, you know, this thing is better than that Charvel, that USA Charvel. He couldn't believe it. He was flabbergasted. They're good guitars.
Thank you. And when I designed the guitar, you know, I tried to design a guitar that I wanted. You know,
Right.
because you get that like, well, this would be great if it had 24 frets, and if you maybe just put this one thing in it. And I go,
Right.
yeah, I mean, we could do anything.
Yeah.
I go, this was a mass-produced guitar, so it was two things. I wanted to build a guitar that I thought I would like, and I
Right.
like, you know, a super shredder that's versatile.
Uh-huh.
And my main thing was I wanted to be able to sell the guitar reasonably. And when I first came out with the guitar, when I had the first run of guitars, and even when I had the prototypes in the office, and someone would come in the office and I would hand them the guitar and they would play it and they'd be like, man, this is great. This is great. And then they would all go, how much? And I would always go, 2,800.
Yeah.
And they would go, that's great, man. Yeah, 2,800. I go, how about 1,300? They'd be like, you can't sell this guitar for $1,300. I'm like, I can.
Yeah.
Because there's no middleman.
Right.
I'm the guy. It doesn't change hands 3 times. The
Right.
only dealers I have for it are just literally one handful of dealers who are friends.
Right.
Because I could sell the guitars direct all day.
Right.
But I set it up where there was, you know, and I work on a very thin profit margin, but I wanted to make the guitar, I wanted to get a good guitar into people's hands at a very reasonable price. I wanted a 3,000. If this followed the normal channel that every other guitar followed, it would be 2,800, 3,200, whatever. But I'm a small company. I don't have the expenses, and I do go direct.
Right.
So I was able to do that because I always go back to when I was a kid. I always go back to when I couldn't afford a good guitar. When I started out, and my first guitar was a $200 Hondo Flying V. I bought at Sam Goody at the gallery in Philadelphia.
Oh, the gallery, yeah.
In 1981. And you know, like, wow, here's my first guitar. I didn't realize that it was like, you know, not a great guitar, but it was my guitar.
Right.
And then I ended up a couple years later, I got another one. So I had 2 cheap $200 guitars.
Right.
And then the popular guitars started coming out, the Kramers and Charvels and this and that. And I would go to Zapp's on 5th Street. or 8th Street Music, and I would drool at the guitars I couldn't afford, like the Charvels and this and that. And I remember, you know, think back, like 81, 82, 83, right in that era, you know, you'd go in and be like $1,800. I'd be like, might as well be 18 million because I can't afford it.
Right.
Then my first good guitar of the era, and I had to borrow the money from a friend of the family because my father told me, no, I'm not giving you money for a guitar.
Right.
I bought a Kramer Focus 6000 for $600.
Oh, wow.
A lot of money in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a purple hum single, pointy headstock. That was it. I had arrived. I was in shred heaven.
Right.
But I remember that mindset as a kid, and I remember wanting something really good and not being able to have it. And then when I put out the FU guitar, you know, I go, this is the guitar I want. This is the guitar I wanted, and I want to make it as easy as I can for someone to have it.
Right.
And that's the mindset behind it.
And it's a good representation of all of your products too.
Thank you.
You know, it has everything. And I didn't mention this earlier, but so I love your guitar. We talked about that. The PMS system, the pickup mounting system, man, I think that's one of my favorites.
It's really good. I partnered with Mike Learn on that. Mike Learn, the airbrush painter.
Right.
you know, he had the initial concept of that, and I added my 2 cents to it to make it work, and we sell it together. Yeah, the PMS turned out to be a great thing. And again, you could take this back. All roads lead back to Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
You know, before Eddie Van Halen, no one ever screwed the pickup to the body of a guitar, not that I know of.
Right.
And he always said, you know, well, it sounds better because it's like putting your ear to the wood of the guitar.
Yeah.
You know, screwing it directly to the body. And then the PMS is just the next evolution of that, just like the block of the guitar, that brass in between the wood and the pickup just vibrates more.
Right.
It's touching the pickup in 3 different spots.
Uh-huh.
So that's the concept of PMS and the history of PMS.
Yeah, that, as you know, that's been a big hit in my shop. I've had several guys that have come through with that, and they've all liked it. I had some of the you're selling the stop tails for the Les Paul style.
Yeah.
Customers been extremely happy with those also. You can tell such a difference in those without being plugged in. It almost sounds like an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, same thing. You know, all it's doing is the same thing. It takes the vibration from the string, amplifies it, and pushes it out into the wood. Right. So you're hearing the guitar. You're not hearing the bridge. You're hearing what you bought.
Right. Yeah. I'm curious about those bridges now. Is reason being, I want to try it out, and so some of my guitars, I have these ESP Eclipses which are take on the Les Paul. So years ago, I got one of these Eclipses, and it actually had a Godot bridge. So I bought Tone Pro's bridge, and didn't fit because of the Godot. So my question is, these bridges that you're making, would it fit like a Japanese ESP Eclipse that has
most of them? Yeah, I put one on, I want to say Monty Pittman. Monty Pittman is in the band Ministry, also played guitar for Madonna, and I'm pretty sure his was the ESP Eclipse, and I think it was the Nashville space that fit his guitar. You might have to check me on facts if that was ESP Eclipse, but I'm pretty sure that it was.
He's a fellow ESP guy, so
then it is for sure.
Yeah.
And a great player and a great guy, and you know, just another one of those good guys in the circle of cool cats, man.
Yeah.
Nice. That's good to know.
I didn't want to monopolize all the questions here. What do you have? Because I have a couple more if you have time, Adam.
I have time.
Anytime you're ready, just give us the cut sign.
No, we're good. You're good.
I'm curious. It seems like we're revisiting the 80s with the guitar. So in your opinion, what is better? I have a list over here. I'm not having a wayward eye moment here. Which is better, a vintage guitar, a modern guitar, or a modern guitar that's made to be a vintage guitar? In your opinion only.
It's a trick question because I could show you great examples of all of those things, and I could show you terrible examples of all of those things.
Yeah.
I like older guitars that, you know, have a thin nitro finish on it or no finish at all, because the older it gets, the lower the moisture content in the wood gets. All wood has moisture content, you know, and the moisture escapes as long as you don't have like a polyester bulletproof finish, you know, that in 20 years the guitar is going to sound exactly the same.
Right.
So I like older wood and wood that breathes. I really like unfinished necks for the same reason. Necks that are just oiled and hand rubbed like that. So yeah, there's no direct answer to your question because you know, and I've had new guitars right out of the box where you plug one in and they're just magic, and you go, wow, that guitar is great. That guitar is great. And it doesn't have to be a specific brand, a specific wood, or this and that. I have taken, 10 guitars in a production run
Right.
with an artist and plug them all in, and they're all just fresh off the press.
Right.
And they all sound different. They're all made with same parts, same wood, same this and that, yet
Yeah.
they're all different, and they all
Right.
have their own little characteristics. And then
Right.
you'll always get that one that's just like, whoa,
Yeah.
that was magic. But why?
Mm.
Right.
Why is this one different than this one?
Right.
I don't know. I know it is.
Right.
It has the mojo. It has that. It has that thing.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I bring it up because we have this discussion with every guest every week. It's like vintage guitars, new guitars, which is better.
What's a vintage guitar now? Vintage.
Well,
you say vintage guitar. Some guys go, "Oh yeah, my 1962 Strat and my 58 Tele and this and that."
Yeah.
But vintage now, the new vintage is the
It's like
shit
the
you
90s.
grew up with.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like the 90s. Adam, we're vintage now. We're not
That's
old, we're
scary.
vintage.
That's scary.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of what I was getting at is, and I always relate it back to one of my favorite guitars is, and it seems like I talk about it incessantly, is my 64 Custom Shop, and I like that era of Strat. So is a true 64 from 1964 better, or is a Custom Shop that was made to feel like that Journeyman, with a more modern spin, which is better? That's kind of what the question is getting at.
Okay, but I'm going to go back to my original answer on that. I could show you the vintage example of what you're talking about and show you a great one and a dog, and the same thing of a custom shop. I could show you a great one and a dog. So,
Right.
it's not that this group is better than this group.
Sure.
It's maybe this guitar is better than this guitar, or
Right.
vice versa.
Right.
So there's no blueprint to what's great. What's great is what you love. What's
Right.
copper, brass, and titanium. What's best? What's best is what you love.
Right. Exactly.
When I first started working with Warren DeMartini, I was at his house and we were working on the snakeskin guitar. And I set the guitar up 5 different ways. We did it, with a brass block and regular saddles, titanium block. We set up his guitar 5 different ways, and then he recorded it after each pass. So he recorded the guitar, plugged into his Soldano, mic'd it, and he played. It was 4 or 5 different things. He played something clean, he played something dirty, he played a lead, he played a rhythm, and he tracked each one. And I remember the lead part that he played was the lead to You're in Love. And just sitting there, and he played it, and it's like, boom, right off the record.
Yeah.
And on each instant, he recorded these. And then at the end of the day, we started listening to them and crossing things off the list. And it came down to the last 2 configurations. And he said to me, which one do you think sounds better? I go, who cares what I think? I go, it's your guitar.
Yeah.
I go, it's your guitar. It's your thing. I go, what do you think sounds better?
Right.
And he was like, wow, you like really threw that back in my lap. Because I like this one. And I go, that was my pick as well. But the truth is, it didn't matter because beauty is in the ear of the beholder. And in the end, it's your guitar.
Right.
So if the 3 of us went to Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors, odds are we're not all ordering the same flavor.
Right. Right.
We like different shit.
Adam, it's on a side note here. You may remember I told you this a while ago, probably not. But that you can't see it, but right there, hanging on the wall, there's a Frenchie, a DeMartini. It's funny you bring up DeMartini. My wife is a big fan of his and that guitar, and won't let me get rid of it. And it is fully FU-toned. It was the first experience I had with you.
Awesome.
Has all the red titanium, and she's the reason. She told me, she said, you need to contact him and become one of his dealers.
Oh, that's awesome.
True story. So FU-Tone is wife approved also.
I'll give you the wife tie back on DeMartini and the whole thing. So if you see the Seymour Duncan RTM pickup, the DeMartini signature pickup, in the box, you'll see a picture of Warren on the box, like playing the guitar.
Yeah.
My wife took that photo of
Oh,
Warren,
really?
and it's my favorite photo of Warren ever. And here's a funny story about that photo. You should probably insert this photo in your playback. Before I knew my wife, I always saw that photo and I went, oh my God, that's the greatest photo of Warren ever. I go, I'm going to lift that photo. And I lifted that photo somewhere off the internet and I put it on my website on the artist page, on his artist page. And then when we met, she's like, hey, that's my photo.
That's awesome.
We just licensed that photo to, if it was close on my phone, I would pull it up. We just licensed that photo to Seymour Duncan for the DeMartini.
First.
I hope he doesn't have a UAV over his house.
Here too.
He's just glitching a little bit. He'll come back.
You got
there
me.
He is.
Hey,
oh yeah, there you
go. We lost you for a second there, Adam.
So yeah, it was the aliens here.
Yeah.
Oh, he could hear us. I said it was a UAV over your house.
I heard you the whole time.
Oh yeah.
I'll ask you guys a question. I'm going to turn the tables on you. So forget everything. I love talking FU, and that's great. But everyone knows FU. It's cool. I love geeking on gear. What is something that you have that you love that inspires you to play, to make noise with? And I don't care what it is, guitar, amp, pickup. What's something right now or in the last year or so that you would go, oh, let me show you this?
That's a good question.
He what that, didn't he?
Sorry to turn the tables on you.
So I called this righting the wrong. So I told you, like my 64 custom shop I had, but I love PRS. I'm a Maryland guy. Grew up right down the road from Chuck Levin's. So I have a PRS. It's my favorite guitar. So it's neck and neck between my custom 22 core and my 64 custom shop. Those two, I love playing them. They inspire me to play.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm an EVH guy as far as amps, and I recently got the Stealth, and I am just blown away by this thing. And yeah, it's a combination of that, and actually the guitar, one of the guitars that I recently got brought home from Europe recently, that I put the brass block in there. Yeah. And a combination of that guitar and the amp, it's just been uncontrollable for me. I've been home from Europe for what, month and a half, something like that. And yeah, it's just like every night I come down and I'm just working on new music for a new record. And
cool.
A combination of those two things. And one of the big things is that block. I mean, it's just like the way that guitar sounds now. And the neck always felt really good for me, but it was just like, it just had this little extra I don't know, piece of magic that it needed. And once I put that block in there, like I told Roger the other day, I was like, man, I can't stop playing this fucking guitar. It's
not the block, it's the guitar. I'm just helping you.
Yeah. Well, and he's not saying this because you're on here. He said this several times.
Like I know a lot of guys in the industry, and they, it's like they get endorsements and they're getting free stuff, but do they really stand, behind the product? And for me, I'd rather buy something that I believe in and that I want to use, instead of getting free stuff, and and FU-Tone, I have to say, is like the latest thing for me that I'm just completely blown away by. It's something that I've been searching for as a player, and it's really, as far as it's inspiring, really. It's just like when you pick up a guitar, and it's just like having multiple guitars because they all play different, they all sound different, And if I'm struggling with something, I got to grab something else,
Yeah,
And
no,
there's,
I get
there's
it.
different songs in guitars, that you play differently, on certain things. And I think it's, now I'm curious about, because I've only used the brass. So now I want to get the, try the titanium. I want to try
Yeah,
the copper,
yeah.
like
Hit me up.
the different,
Hit me up.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Yeah.
I'll ask you another
I have,
question.
I have some. Oh, you want to ask us?
No, go ahead. Finish what you're
Oh,
saying.
okay. So yeah, and you said that you wanted to talk about. I mean, we're just kind of geeking out now. So here's one of the things that's been, and I won't say a difficult transition, but definitely a transition for me from my former life. So I came from a life that was very structured, certifications for everything, so on and so forth. Coming out of government, public safety world. Um, the guitar world has been interesting to me, and the guitar industry, in particular, with buying a new guitar that isn't like the quality control issues, super high string height, it needs a setup as soon as you buy it. I always equate it to going and buying a brand new car at an auto dealership and having to drop by and get an oil change on the way home. It's odd to me.
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, dealers themselves and the products. So, if you buy, your new ESP XYZ, off an internet site and, click, buy, shows up at your door, best of luck.
Sure.
Or if you buy it at a reputable dealer that brings it in, that sets it up, that services it, that has it the way you want it, and they hand it to you, with your car analogy, oil changed, waxed, ready to go, new car smell, here's the keys, have a nice day.
Right.
This is what we were talking about. This is the difference between, a dealer, a trusted resource,
Right.
a reputable person, someone who isn't there to just sell you shit, who's there to help you, take care of you before, during, and after the sale, and knows more about it than you do. And that's the key to being successful for a dealer. And I don't care if you're doing what you do, reselling, set up, that's great.
Yeah.
You become the source, but quality control out of the box. Yeah. Cause I have guys that I get a lot of guitars sent in, and a lot of times a guy will buy it from a big box retailer online and have it drop shipped to FU-Tone. So I'm getting what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I open the box and I'm like, wow, they like send this out the door like that. I'm like, wow.
And I'll give them a little bit, because I understand, like, it's coming in a UPS truck or a FedEx truck. It's coming overseas, wherever it's coming from. So
I don't care. I'm not. That's a bad excuse.
I know that. I'm just saying, like, I get it. There's some of that, but
but it's more
that I see is atrocious.
Well, that's the other thing. You want to go deeper there, because this I get, and this drives me crazy, where someone will buy something and they'll take it to their guy.
Oh yeah.
The email or the phone call starts with, I bought X and I took it to my guy, and I go, let me stop you right there. Whatever you're about to say to me next is probably wrong or misinformation, but go right ahead. No. And then they all say the same thing here too. My guy's been doing this for 25 years. He's the best guy around here. And I go, that's even worse, because if he's going to tell me X, and I'm not going to say the bullshit I hear, and I go, wow, the stuff I hear that my guy told them, I'm like, go pick your guitar up, send it to me. That's just bad information. That's just wrong, and it's not all the time, but there's enough of that. There's enough bad operators out there that ruin it for someone just trying to find their way.
Well, and that, so I like how you call it my guy, because that's totally on the money.
That's
And
I hear it every day.
and that's kind of what I was getting at with, the world I came out of, everything. So I couldn't do anything unless I was certified and somebody tested my competency. And there are people out there, like I get called a
Welcome to the
luthier.
music industry.
I am definitely not a luthier. I say that and I correct people on it, but I get called that. I am definitely not. I'm a decent guitar tech, and I try not to buy into the voodoo, and I try to do the best job that I can do every single time and be consistent with it. Everybody's gonna miss once in a while, right? But I think that's some of what I find interesting in my short time that I've been in this, is that there is no certification program continuing ed, because that guy that's my guy that's been doing this for 30 years, he's sometimes still has that 30-year ago mentality and never really kept up with the trends. And I see a lot of that.
So do I. And I'll take it back again to the beginning. I don't have a ton of dealers because I have to vet someone, because when someone's going to install my product or sell my product or represent it, they're representing me, and it has to be at the same level that I do it at.
Right.
When you talked about, hey, what's the protocol to be a dealer?
Right.
I checked you out first.
Yeah.
I was like, let me see what he's up to. Let me see what he's into. We talk this and that. It's someone has to keep the gate a little bit, because that's my reputation.
Sure.
There's product out there that doesn't get the right representation and is at the demise of people that don't care, don't know better, that are only there just to sell stuff, and their whole business is just selling stuff. I don't need that guy. I don't want FU-Tone stuff hanging on a hook in a big box retailer where you go in there and say to the guy, hey, can I put this on my Ibanez JS 100? Oh, I don't know. Now, all right, I'll just buy one of these. And the kid gets home like, oh, this doesn't go on here. This thing sucks. Not the guy sucked. Not that. No, all of a sudden the company sucks.
Right.
Well, and I walk a very fine line with, of course, I'm in business, and of course I have to feed my family and pay my mortgage.
Right.
But my objective is not sell. My objective is educate, provide, show the way, give people options and help them make up their own mind, give them the information to make up their own mind, how to do something successfully. That is the difference between a trusted resource or someone who's just selling stuff. Right.
That's a good way of putting that also.
And I see that too much. I see that with a lot of companies. Sell. It's like, here you go. Here's more of this and that. Well, what do you do with it? I don't know.
Right. Well, and it's you're talking about vetting me. I have to tell you a quick story. This has nothing to do with nothing. When Maria comes through, we'll talk about Maria again. I hope she's watching this. She'll get a kick out of it. So she comes through here, going to a family member's house. We're right off of 95. And she was coming through. She goes, hey, I have a sign. I'll drop it off to you if you want to meet me. So we met here at the interstate. And my wife and I pulled in, and we're driving our car. And it's not a sports car, but it's sporty-ish looking. And she looked at me. She goes, oh, my God, you are nothing like I thought you were going to be. I said, what do you mean? She said, I thought you were going to be a big guy with a big bushy mustache and a firefighter driving a pickup truck. I'm sorry.
The greatest.
I said, I'm a city slicker from right outside of DC. I don't fit that mold. Sorry. It was kind of funny. The look on her face, you could have bought her for a nickel.
She's the greatest. She cracks me up all the time, and she takes no shit off of me.
Yeah, and that's not. I have a couple more questions, but that again is the good thing about your company is, it's almost a family type atmosphere. Like we talk family, we talk, things that are outside of guitar. And that's important to me to deal with companies like that.
Yeah.
I dealt with a lot of companies I didn't like in the government, and I vowed I'd never do that again in my own business.
Yeah, and that's important, Roger, because you
Yeah.
know, as a professional musician, any of the companies that I work with, say if it's ESP or Fishman, like ESP, it's you know, not only are we working together, but they're family to me. These people
Sure.
that I work with at ESP, and that's extremely important with any kind of business relationship. I think that's gonna last, you know, and you know, I don't want somebody that is just gonna be like, yeah, here's your stuff, you know, and you know, I think that's important, the relationship, you know, between the people, and yeah, you know, so you know, and that goes with, you know, standing behind a product, you know, and you know, that's extremely important. So yeah, I'm sorry to butt in there, but
Yeah, and before I have a couple more questions, but Cheech is with us almost. He was absent last week. I want to point that out. What's your guys' takes on dual neck guitars? Do you like them? Are they pointless to have, etc.?
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I love a double neck guitar.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate to I have two. And as a kid, again, I would see, you know, so-and-so up on the screen or in a magazine or in a concert playing a double neck guitar. And I'd be like, man, that's awesome. You know, it's like seeing a Ferrari go by. It's like, wow. I wonder what that's like. And I remember the first time I played one, I was like, holy moly, there's a lot going on here. And I think they're cool. But the whole point of a double neck guitar, obviously, is to have two different guitars.
Right.
So you want to make them as different as you can. So one of the guitars I have, it's right over here. I have a Jackson double neck. It's really cool. And on the bottom, it has a locking trim and it's hum single. And then on the top, it's 12 string with 3 single coils.
Right.
And, you know, it's really cool. You know, you just go click and you're up here playing clean 12 string twang.
What is this? What model is it? The Jackson.
They only made 2 of them. It's yellow, and it had Phil Collen has one, and I have the other one.
What's the body shape?
I could grab it.
Yeah.
I'll grab it real quick. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Hey, Cheech, while we're waiting, so there's I don't know if well, I guess you can search. Anybody can search. So Facebook Marketplace, if you look in the Fredericksburg area, there is it's just like Jimmy Page's, but it's a Carlos Robelli, I think. It was a private, I think he's out of Connecticut.
Did you just say Carlo Robelli?
Carlo Robelli? Yeah.
On a double neck, where is that?
It is in Fredericksburg right now for sale. I
How
did
much?
the work on it. I think it went $750.
Can you get that for me?
Yeah. I'll send you the link.
Just get it.
Oh, get it?
Get it. I'll send you the money.
Oh, I could text the guy. I know.
Just tell him to bring it here.
So it has, I'll just let you know, it has the original pickups in 3 places, but the 6 string, it has one of my humbuckers in the bridge because they put a passive EMG in it. Somebody did over the years.
Is the guitar straight? Like the necks are
good? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
really?
So here's the Jackson.
Carlo Robelli, where is he?
That is beautiful. Now, what is the weight on that thing?
It's not bad, to tell you the truth.
Is that like a Mike Shannon built guitar, or
insane?
Maybe. And what's cool about the 12 string on the top, you have the 6 tuners up here, then the other 6 are on the body, so it really balances out. It doesn't get too neck heavy.
Right.
That is gorgeous. Wow.
Yeah. And on the bottom, really obviously, the Shred City down here.
Yeah. That is 2 different worlds colliding right there.
And the inlays are bats.
Yeah, that is gorgeous.
Man, yeah.
Wow.
That's nice. Hey, Adam, while you're grabbing guitars, can you indulge us and get the Phil Collen one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
You'll sign the
God.
back of this one too on here.
Oh,
Wow, that is
oh yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Phil Collen guitar.
Yeah. He's indulging us now. Sorry, Cheech, I sold your guitar.
Oh wow, nice.
Oh yeah, look at that. Oh man. I did this for you, Alex. I
You
saw
know, I've tried a couple of his guitars, and they're pretty weight. They got some weight on them, and they got
not
fat
like
neck,
that.
like a baseball bat neck, I think. Right?
His neck on his, the necks are obscene. I
Yeah.
mean, when I say obscene, I mean unplayable.
Yeah, it's
I
so
have that new telly he has. I'm telling you, I took a picture of it, the neck profile sideways like this. And the neck, see how the headstock's out up here? The neck like comes out to the same as the headstock. It's almost, it looks like a plank of wood.
Yeah.
It is an obscene guitar to play.
Yeah.
But
it sounds amazing.
this was the Jackson 30th anniversary PC1,
Uh-huh.
and where Phil painted the guitar. So he splatter painted these and wrote his name in Japanese and
Oh yeah.
on the back.
Wow. That is beautiful.
Yeah, this is they're great guitars, and that's another one of those signature guitars. Like obviously he's been with them 30 years. I
Yeah.
always loved his guitars, and he made the guitar the way he likes it. You know, the sustainer, his pickup. You know, it does everything it needs to do
Right.
for him. And another thing I like about his guitars, on this one, it has the shark fin at the 12th fret, but no fret markers
Right.
on the board.
Yeah, very clean.
They're on the side.
Yeah.
I always like that. A lot of people don't like that. And I thought of that for the FU guitar. And I talked to a bunch of people. They're like, no, I look at the dots on the neck. So I made very small dots on the FU guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Have you
nice.
considered making a neck through body guitar?
Probably, I would never say never, but probably not in the short term. That's not my thing, but maybe. You know, I designed like for what I like. Like I have a few Les Pauls here. Like every guitar player, like Les Paul, you must have a Les Paul. Like, okay, I have a couple Les Pauls. I like them. I don't connect and play them that much.
Right.
You know, I like super strats. I like shredder guitars. I like pointy guitars.
Right.
I love star bodies and my favorite guitar is an Explorer. I love Explorers.
Yeah.
You know, I think Explorers are gorgeous guitars. I just think that's art. The shape of an Explorer to me is art. And when they came out with that in 1958, you know, it's like we have to think of something futuristic and, you know, think like space age and, you know, ultra modern. And it was a failure back then. And that modern. And it was like, these things are horrible. I love them.
Right.
I love them. I mean, that's I probably have more Explorers, I think, because I got into like collecting Explorers.
Right.
And I just because I love the shape.
They're kind of comfortable too.
And
I mean, as odd as the shape is.
You want a bigger guitar, you kind of hide behind a bigger guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. They're that's interesting because as big as they are back in the back, they're actually kind of comfortable, which is odd. When you look at it, you wouldn't think they are. I
was always comfortable with an Explorer, and I like how the back end comes up a little bit and you kind of rest your arm. You know, it's like a nice little armrest, but I just always thought the lines of an Explorer were just gorgeous.
Right. And the star shape is also super comfortable for me, at least.
I love stars. Stars, Explorers,
like my friend Rob from Cannibal Corpse, we were just on tour together, and he just got a couple custom shop stars, you know, Dean made, you know, which is basically the Charbel guitar. And I was just like, I kept telling him on the tour, I said, you know, I'm taking that home with me at the end of the tour, and he's he's like, yeah, you try, but yeah, just another super comfortable shape. So,
Right.
so you're making star shape FU-Tone guitars as well.
Yeah, I just started. So I made a couple prototypes. Mike Stone from Queensrÿche is playing the prototype. And
Oh, nice.
I'm making a couple for Wilton right now. And then I'm going to release. So the FU guitars, I'm coming out with the USA line. So where it's just different variations of what I already do, just different finishes, a couple different shapes, but USA versions, and it's going to be cool. And I have I run out of water too. I have some artist signature series coming out with the next run. There's going to be there's a Tracy Guns signature. Eddie Ojeda from Twisted Sister.
Yeah.
Michael Wilton from Queensrÿche. We're doing a couple, and Neil Shaw. So we have those artist versions coming out early next year.
Wow. Wow. Now, Alex, do you know the story behind the guitar he's holding?
No, I don't, but I do know about that guitar where he did like a limited run where he did, the splatter paint on
But he gave you that guitar, right, Adam?
I'm very, very, very.
It's a really, really nice story. That's the only reason I brought it up.
I'll tell it because I'm very fortunate, and I trust me, it's not lost on me. I never forget where I came from. I never forget my $200 Hondo Flying V, which I don't have the same original one. I tried to get it back. I bought the same one, and it hangs in my office always to remind me of my roots. So a lot of Phil's guitars, I'll either go out on the road and upgrade, or he'll send them to me, and I'll upgrade them and send them back or whatever. And one day I pull up and there's a Jackson box, and I open it and I see this guitar, and so I called him. And I said, hey man, the splatter just arrived. I said, do you want your usual on this? What I usually do to his guitars.
Yeah.
And he was in an airport. And this just shows you what an unbelievably gracious guy Phil is. He said to me, he goes, that one's for you, mate. And I said, I appreciate that. I said, but I can't accept this guitar. I said, I know it's an expensive guitar. You're not in the business of giving guitars away. I said, I'm going to send this back. I said, if you ever feel the need to give me a guitar, give me some broken piece of junk that you'll never play again, that's sitting in a closet somewhere that's worthless. I said, do not send me a guitar like this. I go, it is not necessary. He said, you do so much for me throughout the years. He goes, I'd be insulted if you didn't take that guitar.
Right.
And I said, thank you very much. And I always tell him, I just saw him again this summer, and every time I see him, and I've seen him for a long time, I thank him. I thank him for helping me build my company, helping one of my early artists, and not just a great endorsing artist, just a great friend and a great guy, right. A guy you could just talk to. And, think about it. I mean, I grew up watching this guy on MTV.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, there's Def Leppard bringing on the Heartbreak, and Me and My Wine. And then they got huge, and Photograph and this and that. And I went to these concerts. I watched this on TV, and here I look at this guy and I go, thank you for helping me. Thank you for being who you are. I can't tell you, when I first started the company early on, some big artist would call me up and go, Phil Collen gave me your number.
Yeah.
They're like, wow. And here, this guy's a major rock star, and, lives his life and busy. I'm sure he's busy taking care of, one of the biggest bands in the world and doing what he does.
Right.
But no, he's just a really great, humble, kind, generous guy. And that's why when I look at this guitar, I mean, it means so much to me. And of course,
Right.
it's a great guitar, but I don't think of it as a great guitar. I think of it for what it symbolizes and
Yeah, yeah,
the story behind it. It's great. And
yeah.
the truth is, I don't even play it because I'm afraid to scratch it.
I wouldn't either.
Like, I'll sit here and just plunk on it. Meanwhile, I haven't touched this guitar probably in a year.
Yeah. That's an unbelievable looking guitar.
In tune.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's a great story. He seems like a great guy, and at heart, he's probably just a big guitar nerd, right?
Complete nerd. Complete guitar nerd. You know, he's one of those guys, like, you know, walk in, I'll be like, dude, let me show you this. And we'll go, no, let me show you this.
Yeah.
You know, I got this, I got that. And he's just a nerd.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, Cheech has a question for you. Alex, what kind of gear did you have with your Mach I Explorer?
Mach I Explorer. How the hell do you know that? That was 1980s.
Somebody's a fan of emulation. But that would
Say that again. Bring that question back to the Mach I. What kind of gear did you have when your Mach I Explorer? Back then, I think I had a KMD amp with that Mach I. Mach I was an offshoot of a Japanese guitar, Area Pro 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have an Area Pro 2 Explorer.
Oh, nice.
They're great guitars.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the first, somewhat quality guitar that I got, because I had same thing, a Hondo and Court, I think I had. And
take it back to when we were kids now, though, when you wanted, you know, Jackson, Charvel, this, that, and we turned our nose up at Area because, like, that was the B brand. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. That was the two factories, Fujigen and Matsumoto in Japan, making what people called the knockoff guitars were better than the real guitars. Yeah. And I've collected. That's why I want that double neck, because that's what that is.
Yeah. And I didn't know of anybody when you came back and said the name. I was like, how do you know that? You know what's funny is we're talking about Area Pro, and I have a what is it, a Black Knight, the Area Pro that I'm selling for a guy here. He's had the original owner from '84, I think.
Area's great. And think back to, do you remember the Dio video, A Special from the Spectrum?
That's Vivian played an Area Pro 2. That's correct. Yeah.
Guitar solo. And footnote to that, I was at that concert.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Wow.
I think it was 84, 85 at the Spectrum.
Last in line, I guess.
It was last in line. And that was another turning point moment for me. I remember watching, because he wasn't much older than I was. He was a kid. You know, it was his second tour. I'll bet you he was like 20, 21.
Probably, yeah.
And
so you two had to kind of run. We're only a couple of years older than you, Alex. You all had to kind of run in the same circles, right?
Yeah, when I was rifling off like the local music stores and the stuff, he was on it. You know,
Zaff's. In fact, I remember going with my buddy. He got a 1985 Jackson Rhodes there. This would have been 86, maybe, something like that. Had the Kaler on there. And I used to hang at the Empire Rock Club. I don't know. Yeah. Parking lot, and
I was there. I was at the Empire. That was my
show. Like every Sunday at least, you know. And
Sundays and Thursdays. Thursdays were great.
Thursday night too. Yeah. That's right. That was the Hard Rock Metal nights, Thursday and Sundays.
And you probably ran into each other when you were teenagers and don't know.
Probably. I'm sure we've walked past each other. And I say that to my wife all the time. Like, if I could VCR and rewind, like, because I remember seeing her at a couple things before I knew her. I said, how many, because we've been in the same places for so many years. I said, how many times do you think we walked past each other or sat in catering near each other, or were on the same? It had to be 100 times, you know. But I'm sure, Alex, if you were a Philly guy, a gear guy, an Empire Rock guy, I guarantee you, you and I have walked past each other in a bathroom somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just a long-haired dude. I used to have long hair, believe it or not. It was awesome. Empire was great. And so, you know, Roger, coming out like for us in the 80s, Empire, you know, it was the Philly scene. So it was Cinderella, it was Brittany Fox.
Oh, man.
I think they became Rough House, I think.
Yeah.
Rough
And then
House.
the New York bands would ease down. So I remember being there on a Thursday night one night, and it was a rainstorm. It was like a washout. I mean, torrential rains. But of course, here I am at the Empire, literally like 8 people in there, you know, sitting at the bar, like, you know, 19, 20, you know, like, having a drink.
Yeah.
And some New York band was playing that Thursday night to 8 people.
Wow.
And I remember they go, you know, please welcome White Lion. And here comes White Lion walking out. And before they played a note, I looked at them. You know, there's the blonde singer with the big hair and the guitar player with the Marshalls and the rig and the black hair. I go, here comes another Van Halen ripoff. This is going to suck. And they started playing to 8 people before they were signed. They were just a club. And I went, what? I go, holy shit, who is this guy?
Yeah. That guitar is ridiculous. Yeah. I can't remember his name.
Vito
yeah. Vito, yeah. He was ridiculous.
He was
I think they got discovered by John Bon Jovi at the Empire. I think he was there at the show.
He was an Empire band. You know, this was our little secret. This was the little Philly secret.
You know, I tell you, they must have gone, because we talk about this every week. They had to have gone from New York to Philly and skipped right past D.C. because this shit didn't happen in D.C., at least that I know of.
Yeah, we didn't waste time with D.C.
Well, we were going through our rap revolution, I'm pretty sure, and breakdancing in D.C. Who knows? I remember, we talked about it before. We had a big punk scene. It didn't seem like anybody stopped through D.C. like that. That's funny.
I could kick back and just talk about the old days forever. And but that was the foundation to this.
Yeah.
This all came out of the same thing you guys did, same thing I did, just some punk kid buying, you know, guitar for the practicing musician, Guitar One. And buying any little record I could find or the new things. I'll lay this one on you, Alex. Did you ever go to Funko Mart, down the record store right near the gallery on Market Street? You had to go down underground.
I used to go to 3rd Street Jazz and Rock. I don't know if you know that one too. That was Market Street. Yeah, that rings a bell though. Yeah.
Funko Mart was this little like downtown record store. It was a dump. It was in a little basement shop right near City Hall. And I would go in Funko Mart with my friend. And the reason we went in Funko Mart was because they would have imports and they would have like new release stuff, like underground releases, indie releases, like shit you couldn't find at Sound Odyssey or Peaches, the big stores. And I was in Funko Mart with my best friend that I still work with today, big in the industry. We're in Funko Mart and we're just picking up records, and I pick up this one EP. I'll tell you the name in a second. I read the name and I flip it over and you just see a picture, like the black and white headshot of each guy with the long hair. You could tell, I'm like, these guys are rockers. And what's the name of this? I turn it back over. I go, what's Queensrÿche? What's a
the EP?
Queensrÿche EP that wasn't in stores, but it was in Funko Mart. And we bought it and we ran home and put it on the record player. You kids don't know what a record player is.
Right.
And right out of the box, it was Queen of the Reich.
Yeah.
And the voice and the drums and the guitar. And me and my friend look at each other. We're like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is great. I go, we got to find these guys. We got to see these guys. And then, you know, like they started coming. They'd be opening for this band and that band,
Right.
and just like my Phil Collen story, I work very closely with those guys, and they become like family. I love them, nicest guys in the world. Great, and I always tell them when I see them, I go, my whole Van Halen thing, and I was such a big Van Halen guy, and the association. I go, Queensrÿche was my band. That was my number one. It was like, they're like, get out of here. I'm like, you don't get it, man. Yes, Queensrÿche, and they're great.
Yeah,
Great.
I mean, the new lineup sound phenomenal. The new singer,
incredible.
Alex, you know what we just did? This is so for everybody that's still watching. We always talk about
nobody's watching. We're just talking.
I could see them up in the corner. There's 5 watching right now.
Oh no!
So we always talk about when I hit the live button and we close down and we stay in and we bullshit afterwards. That's what this has turned into. That's the coolest part.
That's what it should be.
Where you just sit around and like the interview's over and you just bullshit. And that's where the coolest stuff is talked about. And we just entered into that. It's kind of cool. We're usually not recording when we get to this part.
That to close on Queensrÿche, just incredible band, great live band, great guys. Like I love that music. I love the songs, the guitar playing, the structure, the great players. I was saying Todd Latore singing for them is incredible. I always thought, I could say this. I'm allowed to say this. And like I said, nobody's watching anyway. Queensrÿche being one of my favorite bands, I always thought Jeff Tate was one of those unreplaceable guys because he was so unique. He's one of those guys. You think of Van Halen, you can't replace. There's a couple. Pick different. Some bands are the band, and they're a unit in a gang. But some bands, there's always that hinge pin guy that is what you would think is unreplaceable. And I always thought that. Then when Todd joined that band, and then I saw them, and I go, oh my God, was I wrong? Are you kidding? This guy's incredible. He was so good. And then I had met him, and I met him in catering, and he was on his first tour, and he was quiet, and he was not like lead singery. I run into enough of those. He was not lead singery. He was like humble and cool and quiet, and then he'd get on stage and kick your ass.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, what a great fit for those guys. And they're still out there killing it.
Yeah.
Playing the hits, playing the songs. And every time I work with Queensrÿche, I'm so fortunate. I'm like, I fucking love these songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my shit. They were my number one.
Really? Yeah. They're your number one overall band all time?
Well, I wouldn't say it like that. They're on my list of, if I had to make a desert island list of 10 bands, I would say Operation Mindcrime album is in my top 10 albums. And not only that, just because I love it, I think it's the greatest concept album right behind The Wall. I think it's The Wall and Operation Mindcrime. I love the story to both. I mean, you could turn either of those into a book or a movie, which they did with The Wall. The story's great. The music's great. And I've heard both of those albums 10,000 times. And if I hear one of those songs come on, I'm like, right up, still hits me.
Yeah. What do you think about, and this isn't the young whippersnappers kind of question. What do you think about new music? The stuff that's coming out now? Uh-oh. Sounds like we're going to go to the 3 old guys.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I struggle with it. I mean, and for a lot of reasons. It's not my phone this time.
No. It's not mine anymore.
I struggle with it. I am a little bit jaded from what I like and what I know.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think that the creativity, the dangerous side of it is there anymore.
Yeah.
Take it back to our era. Take it back when you know the '80s Guitar Hero thing happened. That was new. That was different. It was dangerous. It was exciting. You know, then jump. You know, so '60s. You know, the Who and you know that whole thing. Huge Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and like hell yeah. That jump from the '50s, like here's the new thing. '70s was great arena rock, and then they carried it through. That's my shit. '80s was my heart. '90s, as much as I didn't like it, you know, you could say grunge had its place. I wasn't a fan, but it was different. It was something.
Right. Right.
And then what?
I don't know.
Well, and Alex, you know this. So there's a couple new bands that I like.
You know, what's that?
Well, I've talked about newer bands that I like because we talk about music a lot too. And one is Dirty Honey, but I think I like them because they sound like an old band.
There's lots of good new bands. There's nothing that grabs me and makes me go, I got to hear that. But here, let me lay this one out. We'll throw this topic out to wrap it up because I've had this conversation with regular kids, my contemporaries, major rock stars, and this ties into your point of new music. I ask people, who's the last guitar hero? But before you answer that, you have to define what a guitar hero is. So let's really think about what is a guitar hero. And I'll just give you my interpretation.
Okay.
So think of guitar heroes. Think of guitar heroes like you just rattle off a couple like start early like Pete Townsend or Tony Iommi, David Gilmour, Eddie Van Halen. Just you know these are Jimmy Page. These are bona fide guitar heroes. And to me, what is a guitar hero? Well, it's a guy that makes other people, other guitar players go, oh, I need to learn that. I need to figure out what he's doing. He's innovative. He's hold that comment because that's going where I'm going. That's going right where I'm going. You know, he's innovative. He's exciting. So that's number one. Number two, I always go cover of guitar magazines, multiple covers of guitar magazines. So every guy we just rattled off, check those boxes, right? Hit songs, check those boxes.
Right.
Gotta have some hits. There's plenty of guitar heroes that are, you know, shred kings, this and that. But my mother doesn't know the name of, you know, Uwe Malmsteen. I'm not saying he's not a guitar hero. Maybe there's different levels of guitar hero, but I'm talking global guitar hero. And there's a point behind this. So guitar magazine covers, another box check. Here's my next box you got to check. Signature guitar. You know, think about those names I just rattled off.
Yeah.
Every one of those guys, signature guitar.
Yeah.
Right? Keep going. Then you could just go, you know, cool look, this, that, you know, but bona fide guitar hero. And then I go back to the opening question of who's the last guitar hero? Who's the last one? Who do you think?
For me, well, that's a hard question. I mean, I have to be a couple guys in the '80s. Now, Eddie is my number one guy. He was the ultimate package. He was just, you know, innovative songwriter, the whole package, performer.
Bona fide guitar hero. Top. He's on the Mount Rushmore.
Right. But, you know, it was I mean, a couple guys. Obviously Randy Rhoads. I would say
100%.
Warren DeMartini, Jakey Lee.
100%. Yes. These are all yeses.
Last.
Who's last? I want to know who's last because this ties back to your question of what do you think of new music?
Who's last?
Who's the last guitar hero?
I don't know.
I can't think of who the last. All the ones I'm thinking of are back.
So your friend Cheesy Cheech
Cheesy Cheese Nuno, right?
that's my pick. That's
Oh.
that's my pick of
Yeah,
when I asked
solid.
pro
Nuno,
guys. But
pretty
here's
phenomenal.
the problem. Here's the problem, and it ties back to your question. When did Nuno come out?
Right, that's 80s, right? So I was thinking
89?
80s. Yeah.
1980, yeah, 89,
So
90,
you're going
something.
to tell me in the last 30 some years, we haven't had one guitar hero that checks the boxes we're talking about?
Now,
But before Nuno, if we take that, when I opened with Pete Townsend, and you could even go before that, when I opened with Pete or Tony Iommi, that era, and then you run it up to Nuno, we had no problem rattling off names,
right.
like serials, like boom, 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 because there were, and you can't give me one after 1988.
Now I think moving forward, now we're not going to talk about metal music, maybe rock-ish, but people like Tim Henson and these kids nowadays have stuff that we didn't have available to us, and there are some phenomenal no-name guitar players.
There's
out
a
there,
zillion of them, but that's not the question.
But they're not there yet.
Yeah, but here's
Guitar Hero.
Oh, Dimebag. Wait a minute.
young
Got that one.
Yeah, young kids, today the guys that they look up to are just copying all the stuff.
Understood.
And then they find out later, like, oh, wait a minute, this guy is just copying what happened 35, 40 years ago.
Dimebag is on the list, but so there's the cutoff. Nuno, Dimebag, right in there for over 30 years.
Yeah,
we don't have it. So that goes back to your question of what do you think of new music? Some of it's great. I go, oh yeah, that's cool, but it kind of sounds like this or kind of sounds like that. Where's the guitar hero? Where's the guitar hero? When we were out, every 6 months you could shake a stick at the new one.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Yeah.
30 years, not one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think some of that is because of the new modern radio in your ear? It doesn't have the guitar solo anymore. It's just looping, the same thing.
Yeah, but why
over
not?
and over.
Why not? Because whoever's making that music doesn't have anything for it, or it's not made for it. And look what sells. Look what concert tickets are selling every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Rock every summer. Def Leppard, Motley Crue, Styx. Again, JY and Tommy Shaw, friggin' amazing.
Oh, wait a minute. Did you all, speaking of Def Leppard, I know you'll be there, Adam, Ocean City on the boardwalk next year.
I saw that. Yeah, I'll probably.
Oh my God, that's good. Alex, we might have to make a beach run, man. It doesn't take much to get me to Ocean City. That's a good lineup out there.
And think of the festival. So every year the M3 festival is a huge thing down in Maryland.
Fairweather, yeah.
But who's playing it? Every guy we just named.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think this is the blessing and the curse, but maybe not as much the blessing. Kids, when I see kids in a guitar store, and you see these 12 and 13-year-old kids playing the same riffs I heard when I was 12 and 13 years old in the guitar stores.
Right.
That's where it was. That's where it was, and that's where it is. And these legacy bands that they are now.
Yeah.
What happens when they're gone? What happens? Where are the kids? The kids right now that are 10, 12, 13 years old that are picking up a guitar and jumping on the internet going, I got to learn whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were learning what was hot of the day. They're learning the same shit we were learning.
Yeah, they're learning what was hot of our day.
As years go on, it's deteriorating. And I think it affects the music business. I know it affects the music business. I think it affects the guitar business.
Right.
I think it's going to be very weird in 10 years from now and 20 years from now?
Right.
What's it going to be?
Yeah.
Unless that next thing comes along,
Yeah.
like Hendrix, like Eddie, like someone that did something that no one else did, and goes, here you go.
Yeah.
This is it. And there's your next 10 Guitar World covers and signature guitar and hit songs and big videos and, whatever it is.
Right.
That's what's missing, I think. And that's why our era, I think, is still relevant.
Right.
And actually, that's what sells guitars. You think Jackson is going to keep putting out PC1 guitars if they didn't sell?
Right.
They sell.
Right.
Why do they sell?
Right. Well, and I think between the old music and I think he just said I was going down the same road with this technology is making it easier. So exactly where I was going. So the technology and the music is out there. These kids are playing the hell out of guitars. It's really good for the guitar business.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I think it's great. Any kid that picks up a guitar, I think, is great.
Yep.
But I think the technology that's the blessing and a curse. I have a little Pro Tools studio over here. I have more technology in one little computer system and more gear than the Beatles had to make Sgt. Pepper.
Right.
Yeah. Think I'm going to make Sgt. Pepper?
Right.
I don't care how much technology you have. I think the talent is gone.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and I think what we have to be cognizant of, and the guitar manufacturers specifically, and you can say, I'm rolling my eyes when I say this, is they need to, once you hook these kids with this technology, with this music that's out there, you have to keep them. And this is what stopped me from playing. I've said it 100 times on these podcasts, is I stopped playing because my action was so high. I didn't know about setups. The guitars back then were junk. They hurt my fingers and I didn't want to play anymore. And I found fire trucks. But then I started playing later on in life and kind of figured things out. So I think that's where the guitar industry does itself a disservice by not putting out grade A top quality guitars.
It's a part of it. I agree.
If it's not comfortable, they're not going to play it.
Well,
comments. It's funny because people.
That's not what I'm saying. So it's not what I'm saying. So you're saying there will be no more legendary guitarists because everything's been done. No, what I actually said was we're waiting for that next Hendrix, Van Halen, this and that. Yeah. And what I said was we haven't had one in over 30 years.
Right.
I'm dying for some kid to break on the scene and go, here we go. Never been done. And check all the boxes. Yeah. I'm waiting for it. I've been waiting 30 years, but I hope I get to see it. And because there's so much watered down, not as good stuff out there, I think I think half decent stuff gets lost in the sauce too. You never hear about a lot of these guys. And I see a million guys online that could play the hell out of the guitar.
Right.
But that wasn't the question.
They can't write a song to save their life.
Absolutely agree.
Get them out there, and let's see them do that.
Write the song.
Yeah. And I wouldn't. I was more specifically talking about keeping the younger players playing with the gear. If you don't make it comfortable for them to play, then they're not going to want to play. They're not going to play. They're not going to write music, and then we're just stuck with what we have.
So I probably could ask
with a nylon string acoustic with action like this high, and I used to bleed to death. But that made me a better player, I think, in the end of the day too.
I stopped playing.
You probably get asked what I get asked a lot from friends and family, like, "Hey, my kid wants to play guitar. Where should we go? What should we do?" Blah, blah, blah. And sitting on my bench over there is a 3/4 Squire Strat that we sanded down the neck, put 8s on it, put the action right on the neck. I mean, you can look at it and fret a note. And and I tell this to everyone, even like my wife wants to play, my husband wants to play. I'm like, it's got to be easy to play, or they will fail. They will give it up instantly. So I set these guitars up like that, and I make it super easy to play and low action, straight neck, light gauge strings. And, you know, that's the start. A lot of people don't know that because they go to their guy or Guitar Center. Yeah. And it's like, you know, 1 Squire Strat, please. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. Well, and I didn't think of that. So I've kind of changed my perspective on the new player. What should I get? And that it seems like we always went towards acoustic and then to electric. I've changed up all my thinking with that when people say that. It's like, well, you might have to buy a cheap amp, but go electric. And then if you want to go acoustic after that, and, you know, the 8s, that's a damn good idea. I do 9s, but I never thought of 8s. Because I have a guy right now who's he's a surgeon. He does transplants at a big hospital, and he wants to play guitar, and he bought an acoustic, and he was like having a hard time. And that's a good direction to point him in. Our last conversation,
FU guitar and put 8s on it.
What's that?
Put them in an FU guitar and put 8s on it.
There you go. Yeah, I didn't think of the 8s. That's a good idea. Yeah, because you break them in, you build up your muscle memory, muscle strength, and then makes the whole thing easier. Yeah, that's good. What else do you have? Anybody else have any more comments before we go? Here's my last question. And man, 2 hours. I am glad you hung with us this long. I thought
I'm in trouble when I go up. Forget about it.
But we're all in trouble when we go up. What are you talking about? We had to get permission slips to do this every week. Where do you see FU in the next 5 years?
Interesting question. I've never been asked that question. Where do I see it? I think expanding the guitar line, the USA line, will be interesting. I have some really cool concepts for that. New parts, stuff. I like coming out with new stuff and collaborating with people on great ideas. Like I said, this pickup we're going to come out with this year, collaboration with a good friend of mine in the industry. There's a lot of things on the parts list that I want to get done. I want to grow the company to a few more people. I don't want it to be too big because I don't want it to get away from me. I kind of like the comfort zone. And just expand it a little bit, slow growth. Most people are like, I just want to sell the most shit I can. I want to sell 1,000 guitars. I want 20 employees. I don't want that. It's not what I do.
Right.
I do this job. I went after this job because I love it, and I love what I do. And it is really the cliche of do something you love and you'll never work another day in your life. It is 100% true. I've never gotten up in the morning, even in the most trying times of my business, and went, oh God, I got to go there. I wake up and I go, I wonder what's going to happen today.
Yeah.
Because it's always something crazy. My phone rings or an email comes in. I'm like, wow, this is really cool.
Right.
I want to grow, but I want to grow the right way, slow and steady, and just keep the soul of the company of what it was. When I started the company with one product, I started the company with a 37 millimeter block.
Yeah.
That was it. And I said, I really like this. I said, I wonder if other people would like this too.
Right.
Said, all right, let's try this. I'll just put it up and see what happens. And it just started growing and growing. And obviously now it's hundreds of products and, stuff we've innovated, stuff we've invented, this and that. And then you see, every copycat under the sun try and do it. People send me that stuff all the time. They'll send me a screenshot of like, holy shit, look at this company ripped you off and copied your idea of this, copied your idea of that. And I just say, don't even show me. I go, because I don't care.
Yeah.
I keep my blinders on. I do what I do. I don't
Yeah.
chase anybody.
Amen.
And I work with the people I work with for the reason of why we are who we are.
Yeah.
When someone goes in, oh, I saw another company makes a similar product and it's
Who cares?
couple dollars cheaper. Do you care to match the price? I go, absolutely not. I go,
Yeah.
if that's what you want, you should probably get that. Do you want the one Slash has, or do you want that one? I go, who uses that? I go,
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
It's kind of the point.
Right. I love that attitude. Like, just do it better. Don't worry about what they're doing.
Exactly.
I get asked a lot. That I try to put a little comedy and everything. I worked too long in the regular world to not have fun now. And I joke with Alex all the time, and I tell him I've worked 500 times harder than I did for 37 years in public safety for a fraction of the cost, but I'm having way more fun. And then I have a lot of people ask me about, do you know this guy? Do you know that guy, around town? That I said, I literally know nobody, and purposely, I don't know anybody. I don't care what they do. And some of that is because I was a firefighter for 37 years, and we have a tendency of talking shit. And I don't want to talk shit about people. No. I don't care what they do. I just want to do what I do it well. And I like that attitude with you. Do it better. Who cares, right?
Yeah, I do what I do. I don't care what anyone does. I love what I do. I love working with the people I work with. I have met a lot of cool people along the way, like you guys. And you're the network. We're the network, and
copycats are exactly that. Cheap copycats. You're exactly right.
That's good, and there's something for everyone, and
and I think I try to represent FU-Tone the best I can in this region. Not far from us is Island Music. They do a great job. That's a Class A place over there. So I think we represent you pretty well.
You're different. And we talked about that in the beginning because I knew you weren't far from them. And he's
as a crow flies, we're really close to them, but it takes a long time to drive to them.
But it's a different customer. You don't.
Yeah.
It's a different customer, and that's why I was like, all right, this is good. And Island is. Have you ever been there, Alex? To Island Music?
We have to do a field trip. It's a cool
Alex,
place.
Island Music is like going to Zapp's Fifth Street in 1982. It is. Every time I walk in there, I go, this is taking me back. I go, this is an 80s music store and it's not just rock shit. I mean, where you could buy a keyboard or a bongo or take a lesson or get a set of strings or a reed for your clarinet or a PA system or get a hot rod guitar, an EVH guitar, this or that. And it has that vibe, and it's a family vibe because it's a family that runs it. Keith and his wife are wonderful people.
Right.
And goes back to what we were talking about earlier as well. That's not the competition for Guitar Center or a big box online store or a super retailer.
Right.
That's where you go in and they know your name. And you go, how does this D-Tuna work? What does this do?
Mm-hmm.
And they go, let me show you. Let me help you.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
That's what they are. And that's what's cool.
Yeah. Well, Alex, do you have anything else?
No, that's about it.
We held him for too long.
Let me tell you guys this. This was a lot of fun. I love hanging. I don't care that it was online or not because we could just jump on the phone and shoot the shit like this.
Right.
And next time we'll get down. I'll show you some cool amps and some cool guitars and and we'll just geek out on gear and just nerd it up. Nerding it up.
Adam, if you hold on for a second, I'm going to close this out and then we'll thank you and then we'll let you go. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Adam, do you want to give Nadine a plug again?
Yes. Nadine Joy Photography.com, FU-Tone.com. Put it in the description there if you can. And
I will do that. It's FU-Tone.com. That's very important, the dash.
And NadineJoyPhotography.com if you like live concert photos and, you know, like real artsy black and white, you know,
Yeah.
rocker photos. Really cool stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Please
Thanks for having me.
down here. And
Thanks for-
we'll catch you next week. We have more guests. We have one lined up for next week. Thanks
Who?
everybody for joining us.
Who's next week?